Call this meeting to order. Firstly, I'll take attendance. Bill Curry, Jacqueline Grimes, Councillor Wendy Alford.
Here.
Bill Widmeyer.
Here.
Jack Anderson.
Present.
Councillor Jay Brennan.
Present.
Senior Planner Carl Grinke.
Present.
Planning Coordinator Mary Remig.
Present.
Okay, item 2 on the agenda, approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion there in a second?
So moved.
Jack, seconded by Bill. All in favor? Carried. Adoption of minutes. The Planning Advisory Committee meeting January 14th, 2021. Can I get a motion? Moved by Wendy, seconded by Jay. All in favor? Carried. Disclosure of monetary interests. Public meeting, we have none. Item number 6, priority issues. We have 2 that we're looking at tonight. Report of PAC-21-03, application SP-21-01, Block 1, Ferreira Drive, Bellamy Farms. And item number 2, report PAC-21-04, application SP-21-02, 36 Maple Avenue. Carl?
Thank you, John. And I think this is one, I think my reports tonight sort of highlight the challenges we have of doing all of this virtually. Unlike in the good old days, we have a couple of large plans in front of us and we can all just look at them together. I think you've all seen the circulated PDFs of the 2 site plans we have, and I think the first one we're doing is the block 1 on Ferreira Drive. So as the committee will recall, there's one block on a part of phase 1 of Bellamy Farms that hasn't been developed yet, and that's the apartment block. So a couple of years ago, we approved a minor variance to accommodate a height increase to allow 4 apartment buildings at a height of 15 meters on the property. So that actually, the Samir Group, the owners of the land, have actually changed their concept plan now, and now they're looking at something that complies with the original R6 special exception for zoning, and they've modified their proposal now to do 3 apartment buildings at a total height of just under 12 meters each. So those 3 would be 17 unit, mostly 2 bedrooms, and with some 1 bedrooms. So this property is a little bit interesting in that the stormwater, it's intended to function as a stormwater outlet for the Bellamy Farm subdivision, which is owned by somebody else. So that is something that the Samir Group and Parkview Homes, along with our staff and public works, of course, are collaborating. So I'm not going to be looking for the committee's direction on any of the stormwater, but I am interested in any feedback, comments, or questions that the committee has on the rest of the site plan. So just to highlight, there is a total of 51 dwelling units being proposed and 67 parking spaces. So just slightly more than what the minimum is required in zoning. The proponents are proposing a variety of pedestrian connections throughout the site. And the facades will feature a mix of horizontal siding and brick cladding. I believe you've seen the proposed elevations. There are some areas where trees are proposed along some of the property lines and throughout the site, largely in clumpings. Predominantly, what's being proposed are white oak and red maple. I think both of those are good trees they're good trees that I would support in just about any planting plan, but I think for the amount of trees we're looking for, we might be looking at, I might recommend a greater variety. We don't want too many of one species. And they're also proposing 1.2 meter wood fence along residential lot lines. My initial thought is we might want to go a little bit higher. And then of course, snow storage, swale, stormwater retention, those have been identified, and those are, these plans are currently being reviewed with our Public Works Department. And like every other site plan, we've circulated it to a variety of other departments. So at this point, we are in the preliminary review. So any feedback that the committee has will be appended to any feedback that staff in any departments, including our own, convey to the applicants. So as with any other site plan, when we're at the point where we're all on the same page, then that would be then we will bring that forward to council for approval. So I think at this point, I'll just turn the floor over and ask. I haven't done a very detailed review of it yet, so I may not have answers to all of the questions, but we'll certainly record those questions and continue to research, investigate, and respond to the proponents. So I'll open the floor to any comments or questions that committee members may have.
Wendy.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So I just want to make sure I'm oriented right on page 4 of your report, the key map, Carl.
Yes.
Okay. So I just want to make sure I understand. So the one side backs onto the Cat Trail.
Yeah.
And then the black outline is the property that we're talking about. What are those 4 gray squares that are along Ferrara? What does that indicate?
Those 4 gray squares along Ferrara are our townhouse blocks. So those are mostly, I think, actually entirely the single story the bungalow townhouses that Parkview is building out. The 2 orange blocks, one along the white stretch and then the other rectangle right on Ferrara, those are part of this block as well. So they should be included within the black. But yes, the lot does have that fairly narrow frontage on Ferrara, and then it opens up behind.
I'm just thinking about something that Jacqueline flagged when we were talking about the Parkview townhouse blocks, is about sight lines, and we've discussed this. So I'm just trying to, in my head, get a picture of what this will look like with the 3 different buildings, 3 stories each, how that will impact the people both across the road in Ferrara and the ones right in front of them. So I'm just trying to get a picture in my head. Thank you.
Carl?
Yes, thanks, Wendy. That's a great point, and certainly important to consider. I think only one of those apartment complexes is close, about 8 meters away from the back lines, but I think what's closer to a lot of these backyards is the driveway and the parking lot. So, and that's why I'd be looking at certainly a fence that's high enough to block most of the glare from headlights, for instance. And I see they are proposing a lot of trees along that line, which I think is definitely positive.
Yeah, just as we've discussed before, as these things get built out, people buy things not knowing what's going to be coming in either behind them or across from them. So in terms of what Parkview is, and I don't know what they're required to tell them, but that people know what they're buying when they're buying them, that there's going to be 3 rental buildings behind them.
Carl?
Yes, I can certainly report that I've had a number of people asking me what's going on behind that before they bought, and all I would tell them is what's publicly in the knowledge at that point is that it is zoned for an apartment. The zoning does allow apartment buildings. The committee approved height back in 2019, and at this point, until we have a final and approved site plan, as we've seen, the concept has evolved, but until we have a final and approved site plan, it's nothing set in stone. But there's certainly there is I think the zoning has been in place for an apartment complex for quite some time. So certainly I'm not sure what's been communicated through through Parkview, but when people come our way, that's provided the zoning information.
Yeah, I don't really have any objection to it. It's needed rentals. I'm hopeful that by the time everybody finishes their rentals, we'll have someplace for everybody to live. So I'm not objecting to that. I just don't want anyone to be surprised. If we can avoid people being upset because they were at least informed of this stuff, that would be my wish.
Jay?
If I may,
Jay?
buildings, they're going to be along Parkway Trail or the farthest perimeter of the lot, right?
Yes.
And one other thing, our experience with the Samura Group has always been positive. So I can't imagine they're doing something without it being up to their standards. So if the fence needs to be a little higher, I think you'll find that they'll.
Thanks, Bill. Jay?
Yeah, I don't either. And to Wendy's point, I mean, I do understand that there's those 4 lots that Parkview are going to be selling, but it sort of reminds me a bit of the Settlers Commons that is going up and sort of hovering over all of Wood Avenue. There's mitigation taking place there, but that's the people on Wood Avenue have been there for a long time and probably never thought that would happen. But I agree. I mean, if it needs to be a bigger fence, and from what I'm looking at, the drawing is mostly interest in parking, except for the one sort of on the sideways facing towards Parkview lots. So the other question I would have, Carl, is